I don't even know how to wing this because I have not written an opening for this, so we're just gonna go into it, I guess.
So have you guys seen the latest news?
Oh god.
Big stuff going on in the state of Philadelphia. They've run out of cream cheese.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Dark days.
How will they eat sushi?
They put what? They put cream cheese in sushi?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you uneducated?
The Philadelphia roll.
I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat sushi, but that just sounds wrong.
Bro, I'm vegetarian. Sushi's the fucking best. There's so much veggie sushi out there.
Is it?
I'm not talking about fish. I'm talking like actual good fucking veggie sushi.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm not a vegetarian, but what my favorite form of sushi is a type of vegetarian sushi, and it's amazing.
Inari nigiri, yeah.
I fucking love inari nigiri, man. It's so good.
Yeah, because me and you got 12 of them to fucking split when you came around here last week.
That was fun. We just had this huge lineup of inari nigiri, followed by a huge lineup of matcha mochi, and it just slapped.
Yes, the closed a big office deal meal. Very nice. the meal that people have right before a massive corruption scandal drops in movies. A giant rack of sushi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, the corruption was meeting the Remembrancer in person.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It was really cool to meet him. I have no idea when that meeting will sort of manifest into something on the internet, but it'll happen. We just don't know when. But it'll happen.
It will happen.
The leak.
The leak. The
Sushi
one and
dinner
only.
leaked.
Yep. Saying nothing else. Leaving it at that. The sushi dinner leak.
If the sushi ain't that good, it's definitely gonna leak.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Oh god, I don't even know how to do this intro. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Astartes Anonymous podcast. I, today, have not written an intro segment, so I am just winging it. We did have a plan for this episode, but all of our schedules have become so mangled that we actually got to like a few minutes before recording and just said, fuck it. We're just going to cobble together an episode. We're just going to shoot the metaphorical shit and see what happens, and you can have a more structured episode next week, because fuck it, I guess.
Fuck it, we ball.
We have podcasts at home.
I didn't know we were doing this today.
I mean, you did, you just forgot.
No, I fucking didn't. I didn't check
I was the only one who was ready. I was the only one who prepared beforehand.
Should we just let Chrono, like, host the episode? Should we all just fuck off and let Chrono do this?
Oh my god.
I feel so bad making you prep, but I tell you what, hold on to that.
No, it's fine, it's fine.
Hold on to all that prep, right? And next time we have you on, we'll do that episode.
Right.
We'll see if we can find somehow to... I know your schedule's hectic as well. I'll see if we can find somehow to get you on a Friday, because Fridays are like the best days to record with Red, and Red has a 40k theory that he really wants to talk about to do with like the Necrons and the Pariah gene and all sorts of funny gubbins.
We've talked about that one before, I swear.
We briefly went over it, but we didn't have an opportunity for Red to go into his own batshit theory that he's got that sort of connects to it.
I had my own Pariah gene theory that I made one of my earliest videos on that people still actually remember my channel for. Like whenever there's discussion about my channel, people will bring it up. I'll save it for next time we meet up, but yeah. And furthermore, what's it called? The Friday actually doesn't work for me because I have been doing my first ever internship as part of my journalism program.
You said yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not to spoil anything, but I am interning with one of the biggest newspapers in Canada, so that's pretty great. It's actually a funny thing. For a little while, I stopped posting like those memes that I have in the beginning of my videos, where like I'll just paste 40k characters' heads onto the bodies of characters from like SpongeBob usually. And I said to my audience, I'm like, you might have noticed the memes have been missing for a little while. That's because my internship will be starting soon, and they know about my channel. So I don't want the first thing they see of me to be SpongeBob. And then I started putting in my most recent video, I put the meme back, and one of the first comments was like, hey, my man got the internship, the SpongeBob meme's back.
Let's go!
So he registered that.
Man, I love the Daily Bugle, man. I'm so happy for you.
The Daily Bugle.
Fuck's sake, well, even though this... I'm sorry to interrupt, but even though this episode is going to have basically no structure, we will not forsake our models of the week. We do have models of the week to get through, gentlemen.
To everyone whose model was selected, I'm sorry you had to be featured in this episode.
Yeah, of all episodes.
Me too. You watched this episode somehow be our best performing episode ever by just the will of God, somehow, right?
The algorithm seeks to spite you.
Like we said beforehand, it is what it is.
It is what it is. So, our first model of the week, let's start with my one. Let's just do it in the order we posted them. So, I picked one by Jakul55, who's actually one of our patrons, coincidentally. And Jakul has created this really awesome Talon Guard. A Blade Guard veteran with a Lightning Claw for presumably his Raven Guard force. Really, really cool. You can see he's got one of those versatile terrain nameplates around the base of the model.
So cool.
Not sponsored or anything, but Versatile Terrain do these little nameplates. They do them en masse. They're really good. I bought my first set like three and a half years ago. They're really amazing. It's nice to see that he's still in business and thriving. Excellent job, Jakul. I think I don't know if it's just me and like the circles that I know in about 40k, like the social circles I interact with, but I swear this year, Raven Guard has been on the rise.
I've seen a lot more like Raven Guard conversions around, especially like on Instagram. There's like a load of amazing like shadow captains and all that. It looks incredible. Love that helmet.
Yeah, no, that's a really good model. It's very well detailed. You can see it's got the weathering. You always love that. I like the red on the Talon itself. Like the usage of red here is really good and really striking. Like he doesn't overdo it. Look at how dusty and dirty he drew the very bottoms of his boots.
Yeah.
And that goes exactly well with the terrain. That's something I love when people make models, when there's like an interaction with the terrain in the model. Like I've seen people have snowy terrain on their base and they'll have like a little bit of frost on their models.
Yeah.
That's always sick.
Yeah.
Well, he's done a really, really great job of that, and he's done a really, really, really great job of the white. And that's something I think it started last year. I got to the point in my own painting where I learned how to do white to a point that I was happy with, and I can see how he's manually highlighted the white Aquila on the chest, and I just think it looks really, really good. But that helmet, I was going to say a moment ago, that helmet is a 3D print. I don't know where it's from. I think it might be an Archie's Forge one, but I can't say for absolute certainty. It might be. But either way, it works bloody good, and it looks exceptional.
Actually, I found a helmet here. It is from...
Oh, there we go then. Oh, yeah, he posted below. Oh, he's picked it up off of Colts 3D. Oh,
Yeah.
Excellent
right
job.
there.
Excellent stuff. Let's. I'm going to have to just a bit of info for Tom in post. You're going to have to cut that name out because GW scours Colts 3D for these people and kills them. So we're going to have to. We're going to have to save that guy. Let it be by word of mouth. But no word from Aaron. Even though Aaron, you actually have a Raven Guard force.
I do have a whole heresy set up with Corvus and the whole fucking lot, but. I just haven't got around to mass painting black and white yet. That's an exercise in mental strength more than actual anything else. Methinks.
Yeah, you'll get there. Well, once talking from my own experience, learning to paint white and getting to the point where you can do. I mean, I'm still learning to paint black, but learning to paint white is so satisfying once you've got your head sort of wrapped around it. It's a really, really good one. Right, gentlemen, shall we move on to the next model of the week?
Yeah.
So next up we have Alex's, and Alex has picked one by a user called Call Me E.T.
First off, amazing name. But I saw this because I love big tanks. I like big models.
Oh yeah.
And the Fellblade is one of my favorite Horus Heresy models overall. But he's actually painted them in Death Watch colors. And for the joke of it, he has the asterisk for skill next to it, as if this gives any meaning to the massive size the tanks are. For people that don't know, they're about like 15% larger than a Baneblade. So they're pretty chunky. I also, on the Fellblade, on the turret, you see like all the logos of the chapters that probably his force is working with. So there's like a Raven Guard logo and a Ultramarine logo, a Blood Angel, Salamander, all on the side, which I think looks like amazing.
Yeah, no, it's
nice,
really,
simple
really
color
cool.
scheme.
That's what something you
Looks
see a lot
great.
of.
I did not notice that until you pointed it out just now.
It's a really nice detail.
So I actually own a Legion Falchion tank for my homebrew as a relic vehicle. Now what he's got there on the right is a Fellblade. The Fellblade is one of the two brothers of the Legion Falchion, so it's predominantly the same kit. And I can tell you right now, it is one of the most difficult tanks or difficult models I have ever built in my entire life.
Really?
Oh, it was an absolute nightmare. It was hell.
Foreshot resin has its ways.
So, and it's got the plastic Baneblade. It's like its innards are plastic Baneblade bits. covered in these inordinately massive chunks of resin.
Yeah.
So that alone, what's this user's name? Call me ET. That alone, like just seeing that there, let alone the fact that it's painted and painted well, it's fucking heroic to me. Because that model, building it sucks. I mean, they're cool as hell. They are so cool. But building them really, really sucks. There's no getting away from that. I don't know how the Astartes is to build, but hopefully this year or next, I'll find out, because I'd like one. I think they're awesome. They're really cool. I'd really like one. Or two. Two would be nice.
It's like a Sicarian or like a Sicarius, but like massive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think those are the kinds of models that people send off to pro painters because, one, they don't want to do it themselves, and two, because it's so big and expensive, they really don't want to screw it up. And if you can afford the model itself, might as well splurge a little extra and get a professional painter.
Yeah. Though, Tom, if I turn up one day and you've got two of these fucking things on tabletop, I'm throwing one at you. Really fucking hard.
Not if it's a 7K game. You'll sit there and enjoy it.
If I ever won the lottery, I would not say anything outright, but there would be signs.
There would be some. Of course there would. Of course there would.
I will say, just the fact that he painted that himself and painted it so well really does say a lot.
Yeah, no, it's really quite exceptional. It's really good. And, Shattered Legion stuff is always accepted here. One of our moderators is huge on his Shattered Legions, Horus Heresy era stuff. So, yeah, no, absolutely amazing. Right, gentlemen, let's move on to our next model of the week. This was chosen by Aaron. And Aaron has picked a cadre of Imperial Knights by a user called Ink Different.
Nice.
Yeah, these boys look sick. There's so many subtle little kit bash things going on here. The scheme with the weathering just looks so fucking... it just looks tasty. Like, it's sort of Black Templar-ish, but still knight-ish by itself.
I love those banners. Those banners on top are beautiful.
The banners are sick. The lightning on the lance. The one in the middle has a big shoulder buddy. There's two shoulder buddies.
Oh, the little candles on the one on the extreme left.
Yeah,
that is beautiful.
Yeah, I forget the name. The name escapes me. I don't know as much about knights as I ought to.
I've just realized the guy in the middle has what appears to be a Titan grade melter gun.
I saw that.
Scale of sound.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What?
Good point.
He also has his giant servo skull things on his shoulders.
Yeah. That's so cool.
You know what those look like?
Sick.
They look like the squids from the Matrix.
The Matrix, yeah.
That's what those look like. Love that.
Oh,
this
that
is
so
just
cool.
rock solid.
Yeah.
No, honestly, these are lovely.
Although I hate playing against knights, I'd love to play against this army just for the visuals of it.
Oh, yeah. The bases are nice and simple. They're just, it's a blue and white dry brush, but it contrasts well with the model, so no complaints. But it's really nice to see those lightning effects, because those have been on the rise quite a bit lately as well, because people are sort of working how to do them, and they're not actually that difficult or even intimidating. So to see them applied so well here is really, really good.
Yeah, the lance on the lance is great.
Yeah, no, it looks really great.
Yeah.
Exceptional job, Ink Different. Right, let's move on to our final model of the week. So this was chosen by our wonderful guest, Chrono.
Hey.
And this is by a user in our Discord called Call Sign Nacht. And this is another Imperial Knight.
Oh yeah. We were on the
Let's
big
go.
models today. And this one is absolutely gorgeous. The weathering is great. You can see the detailing on the sides, the blackening. The paint job is good. Love the color choices. But what really pushes this over the edge, just from being a good model to an absolutely amazing one. Sorry, 1 second. Motorcycle was passing. What really pushes this model over the edge from being a good one to an amazing one is the fact that the whole thing is a reference to Mobile Suit Gundam. As you can see, oh yeah, it says right there on the banner on the bottom, Sieg Zeon. And then it says across the chest, Zeon. And that logo you see on the tilting shield is the logo for the Principality of Zeon. The whole thing, that custom-made tilting shield is the Zeon logo. The whole thing is a giant Gundam reference to the Principality of Zeon. And whoever made this, or I don't want to assume, Call Sign Nacht really went above and beyond. And you can see that logo
On the shoulder,
in
yeah.
a few places, on the shoulder as well.
That is so cool.
Oh,
They
nice.
went all in on that, and that deserves mad respect.
Sorry, I was going to say a nice little thing you wouldn't have noticed otherwise. You can actually see a tiny, tiny Xeon transfer and the bottom corner of the chain
gun.
cannon as well.
Yeah.
I was going to pick this guy a lot in the last recording, and I'm glad I didn't.
You
now,
were,
because I wouldn't
you
have done
were,
anywhere
yeah.
near as much justice as you
No,
just
well,
did.
the deep black recesses are great. They work really well. So I don't know much about Gundam, to be fair. I mean, I'm happy to learn, but is this livery the same sort of livery, or is this something different?
This is, as far as I know, this is I'm a little bit removed from Gundam myself, but I do know a fair bit about it. This is a lot of this is Xeon livery, but obviously it's not fully removed from 40K. You can see the Imperial Aquila here and there, but like where they could put it, they did.
No, that's sweet. Excellent
Looks
stuff.
great.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Call sign Nuct. And to our other wonderful entries for our models of the week. So we've got 4 models of the week this time. Slowly rising.
sir.
It's more and more each time.
Yeah.
The community is taking over.
It does feel that way, doesn't it? It's funny because I was sat down coming up to sort of the time limit for this episode. When I was getting to sort of the point in my head where I was accepting that we wouldn't have a huge structure or much structure for this episode, I thought to myself, there's not many people I'd rather have on than the 3 of us. Yeah. Obviously we
Just for
could,
shooting the shit.
well, obviously we could have done just fine with Moots and Red, but Moots is on holiday and Red's snowed under with work. But as far as
really?
guests go, like, you guys need the least direction out of any of the guests we've had. You know, just to sort of make things work. And it does sort of come together. It does make me feel a little bit more at ease. But if you hadn't, just to the audience, if you guys hadn't picked up on it, the plan was initially to do an episode on really wacky 40K theories, but only Chrono had time to really prep for it. So we're going to put that episode on the back burner. We're going to sit on that. We'll circle back around in a week or 5 and do it then.
Probably.
You know?
Yeah.
Hopefully with Red, because like we said before, Red has this really great Necron theory he wants to push out there. So we'll just try and time that however we can. You know, and in the meantime, I guess we'll just talk about whatever takes our fancy. I wanted to do an episode for a while. And I wouldn't know how we would do it, right? I wouldn't know how we would do it, but I really wanted to do an episode for a while where we talk about what it's like to be in the YouTube space as specifically 40K content creators.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? There's ups and there's downs, and I know you're saying, "Oh God, the downs," but there's some really great things to being a YouTuber in this particular space compared to certain other spaces. You know, so many YouTube spaces are completely devoid of community, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think we kind of take it for granted that ours isn't. You know.
And we are such a tight-knit community compared to, like, a lot of other things. I originally started out as a gaming channel with the name The Gaming Storyteller. Who could have guessed? But, so I originally started out with that. And with that, simply after about 20 videos, even having a decent amount of subscribers, nobody would really engage. And if you commented back on someone, it felt really cold.
Yeah.
Discords weren't as active and things. And then the moment you kind of get into the 40K sphere, the moment the 40K community starts discovering you as a creator and discovering your community, it grows so fast.
Yeah.
And it's like natural, like just hearsay, right? People are like, oh, I really like this server. And then everybody joins because us hobbyists just like sticking together and talking about the hobby together.
Yeah, absolutely. That is very much true. And I think even then it's both the community, because it's a very niche community, 40K. So whenever people see that there is another space available or another creator in the sphere, they'll immediately sort of rush to check them out. So as long as you like put effort and actually enjoy what you're talking about, people are gonna flock to you and people are gonna find you. And again, I think we're also just lucky that like a lot of the creators in this space are really nice, because there's a whole industry on YouTube for channels that just document how other channels and other communities are just ripping themselves apart because it happens so often. That doesn't really happen here.
Well, we're not immune to drama.
Well,
there is drama.
No.
Let's take the opportunity now to say we're not going to say any drama. We don't want to let that vitriol in. But if we said 40K YouTube drama, everyone who's listening to this will think of something different, right? Everyone has something that's in the chamber,
We all
right?
seen something.
So we're not immune from that, but we do bounce back, don't we?
Yeah.
We'll sit there and we'll have a little get together as a community, whether it's the community or the creators, and we'll discuss, so and so maybe should have done this a bit differently, or maybe they should have done that a bit differently. And then 24 hours passes and we're all just straight back to it, you know?
Yeah. I actually find it really ironic that 40K is, of all communities, the one that isn't always going to war with itself and it riven with chaos.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only creators living peacefully amongst each other.
Creator cooperation. It actually did happen the other day that I screwed up, and I can admit this, is I saw art for a book that was being used. It was for a novel. I won't name which one. because the name also kind of escapes me at the moment. This was I think a month ago, where it looked really AI generated to me, and I showed it to several of my friends who are artists and said, "Hey, does this look AI generated?" And some of them said, "Yeah, it does. Here's a few reasons why." So I made a tweet saying it looks like GW is using AI generated book covers because I think AI generated images suck, and then people pointed out to me, no, it isn't, and someone actually found on ArtStation the artist's the artist's like DeviantArt or ArtStation account, and
I tore your ass for that one.
yeah, it predated image generation by like 2 years, and Dutch was like, dude, don't be stupid.
Don't do it dumb.
But we all saw where you were coming from, though, because we've been there as well. We actually had, and again, we're not going to name any names because drama bad, right? But we had an incident in our Discord. Again, we got like over 3,000 people in our Discord right now, right? It's a whole community. We love them. They're great. But like any community, there's going to be drama. But we had a thing in our Discord last year, and I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to shine a spotlight on anyone because A, they don't deserve it. And B, even if they did deserve it, I don't want that kind of flack. But, we had a member of our Discord who was quite prominent for a while, who was taking art commissions and actually doing art commissions. And we found out that they were doing it through AI art. And they weren't disclosing that to their clients. And we found out, obviously, we had to send them packing after some short discussions.
Yeah.
But it's like, Jesus Christ, don't get me wrong, AI and AI tools are a thing that's here to stay, and how they'll evolve and develop and change certain landscapes is something that is only partially in our control. But that's no excuse for that kind of illicit bullshit, right?
Yeah, it's what that person was doing was generating images and then tracing over them. And it was really obvious to anyone who was an artist or any of my artist friends who saw that person's art, because I do know this person, they would say this person's clearly tracing because you can see there are lines that just go to random places and any part that is too detailed just gets blacked out with shadow because this person does not understand. This person sees where the lines go, but doesn't understand the purpose of those lines. And that's why it looks the way it does.
Could you imagine that, though? I mean, taking I think someone ran the maths that they must have had like anywhere from 8 to 12 different people commission them at anywhere from $10 to $20 a pop. So let's say it's on the low side. That's still running away with about $80 of just what essentially amounts to scam money, and it's really quite sad. But sorry, come back to the main point. Sorry, because we've dwelled on this for too long. But come back to the main point of what you said earlier, right? I get it. Like when you sort of popped off about that one like book cover art, I fucking get it, because there's so much with the rise of AI. There's so many people who are like, oh, this is a meal ticket, right?
Yeah,
and we've got to be hot on that shit. We've really got to be hot on that shit.
Absolutely.
In making sure that it's not, taking away from other spaces or degrading other spaces. I mean, the thing is, I know people who work in graphic design fields who are actually using AI themselves, right? And so that's a really weird spot, because you know that it's actually artists who are leading the charge against it in certain ways.
It's like
Yet,
you're like
on the other hand,
off your own branch, dude. Like you're sawing off the branch you're sitting on. It's like it's weird.
It is really weird.
They in journalism school because as I stated, I am studying journalism. In journalism school, we did get training with AI, how to use generative AI like ChatGPT. So I know a fair bit about how it works. And that's the problem. Is like the thing about ChatGPT is that it really cannot replicate the human touch. It really cannot.
No, it can't.
Not even close.
The only thing that you could feasibly use it for is as a research aid. If you want to get into YouTube, you could find sources for this, and then you're going to have to go over those sources yourself. And people have this idea that they could just say, write me this script. But the problem is any script written by ChatGPT, you're going to have to go over with a microscope, with a fine-toothed comb, because there's going to be a ton of errors, and at that point, you might as well just write it yourself. You're still doing the same amount of legwork.
The thing that ChatGPT as a tool is best for, and its most innocent feature as well, curiously enough, is as a idea suggestion tool. Something to spark creativity, but not man the entire process from start to finish.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because we, obviously in the Astartes Anonymous stuff, we are huge on homebrew stuff. We love homebrew kit bashing. We love homebrew lore. Everything homebrew 40k, we are hot shit on, right? Again, I'm not going to name any names because that would be just cruel and unnecessary. But we had a homebrewer who submitted a 90-page homebrew doc. And you guys know me. If someone submits a homebrew doc, I will read it. I might not read it straight away, but no matter what, I will read it.
Yeah.
God is his witness. It will be read.
And this guy submitted 90 pages. I think it was the third largest homebrew doc. So at that sort of size, I'm like, whoa, okay. I'm going to sit down for an afternoon with this one and really give it some beans. And I got 2 paragraphs in before I realized, wait a minute. ChatGPT wrote this whole fucking thing.
It's really obvious.
And it was like, I sent a message to the guy, and I'm like, hey man, did you write this with ChatGPT? And he's like, yeah, I did, but I only did it to help with spelling errors. It's like,
make it worse?
And I'm like, okay, I don't. And then I said, I had a really honest chat with him at the time. This is why I'm not naming any names, right? I had a really honest chat. I said, I know we've got no rules against it at the moment. And we do now. We do have rules against it now. But at the time, we didn't.
Good.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, we don't actually have any rules against that. So I guess it's technically fine. But I'm going to be honest with you. We're not going to feature this because this is kind of soulless. Use ChatGPT in whatever way you see fit. But if you submit a homebrew document to me and I read it and it feels like it's been written by ChatGPT, not you, it ain't going anywhere. I mean, we've got this whole thing about how university students, like people who've not used ChatGPT, right, will see on social media, they'll see shit like how people are getting caught out for cheating using ChatGPT and yada, yada, yada. Do you know how fucking easy it is for examiners and teachers and lecturers to ID if a GPT tool has
You
done it?
usually read it in like 2 sentences. You can instantly tell.
It's so obvious.
Classes getting it spelled and shit. It's fucking hilarious.
It's actually funny, though. Some people have been falsely accused of using AI to write their entire dissertations because their professors also entered it into an AI. Their professors would give the thing to an AI, says, hey, look this over and see if it's been written by AI. And people have been like, whoops, yeah, it's written by AI. You have to write it all over again, even though they didn't.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's it's so divisive as well. It's such a controversial thing. The crazy thing is the tools and the software and the technology, it's all developing, right? It's all changing. It's all getting better. It's all improving, yada, yada, yada. And it is here to stay. So we as a people have to decide how that staying factor is going to apply. I mean, Moots and I have a lot of talks about this because Moots is an artist. He is the artist for the team. Our avatars, the backdrop behind us, it's all Moots drawn by hand, sat at some silly tablet for several hours in scorching hot weather, sweating his tiny Swedish balls, right? Whatever. Or freezing cold weather, actually, in Sweden. But in any event, right? So he and I have had a lot of chats about this. And he is adamant that the technology needs to be put on a tight leash, right? Which I think is entirely fair. But I think that how we put it on that leash is very important because I'll be the first to admit that it's really quite impressive. And there could be some really great things that could come out of this technology. It just really depends how we leash it, I think when it comes to art, though, the answer is actually very fucking obvious, very fucking quickly. I think it's every time you upload on the internet, you should, whether you upload to a website, social media, yada, 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 there should be very clear opt-in, opt-out options, regardless of whether you're posting for the first time or the last time. It should not be in the fine print. It should be...
DeviantArt did that, and people were pissed. Like, they would just opt people in on their own, and then the option to let their art basically be scrubbed over by AI and used as a learning aid was just barely off in the corner, and people were really upset about that.
No, it needs to be front and center, and I think as well, that for what you could do to get around this, because there is also the argument of, it's. I'm not saying this is an argument that I agree with, but it is an argument that persists that a lot of people do believe, and it is the notion, well, ultimately it's innocent because you can never or seldom ever ID a single person's artwork if the art pool where it draws its knowledge base from is large enough, right? Okay, that's a perfectly good argument. I'm not necessarily going to say that I'm on board with it, but I think that's a perfectly reasonable stance to take. Yeah. I think with that in mind, though, then we should, like the internet, like Google, like all sorts of other mass services or crowd-funded services, or what am I thinking of? What's it called when a service or a tool or a function is crowdsourced? Am I thinking of crowdsourced? Is that the word I'm thinking of?
Open source.
Open source. There should someone should really go out of their way to create a open source database where people can auto opt into for their artwork. If you're one of those people who doesn't really mind, and that's, more power to you if you don't mind, that should be somewhere you can put it where companies, whether it's for commercial use or private use, if you opt in to say, yeah, I don't mind, then that should be an option to have that,
Yeah.
Because even if 1% of even if only 1% of artists are like, yep, this is fine, that's still a colossal knowledge base to draw upon, which isn't going to infringe upon the artists who don't want their stuff being used,
Absolutely.
I think it's a perfectly good solution.
But this is the thing, right? So AI for me, like especially for those that do know, is I next to being a YouTuber, I'm also a full-time editor.
Yeah.
And I edit for a bunch of the other 40k YouTubers as well. And in this comes the thing is that, like, of course, over time in the last year, I have slowly but surely seen AI creep into editing more and more. But the thing is, no matter what, I have tried dozens of times with like the generative AI stuff, with the in-program AI stuff, see what like the editing program allows. You will never be able to recreate the human touch. So even though AI is a great tool to, for example, remove the breaths between somebody talking for an hour long like recording, that's awesome, that's great.
Yeah.
But it will never recreate a actual good flow of breathing, pauses, natural thinking moments. It will never understand that.
Yeah.
And that is the same in editing, that is the same in 2D art, in 3D art, and even in journalistic writing. You will always see that machine touch that humans we just don't like it. We look at it, it's like, this looks weird.
It's uncanny.
It's not engaging enough.
I know that phrase gets thrown around a lot, but it really does feel uncanny.
Actual
awkward.
uncanny, something is acting human, but it isn't. And you can notice it over time. And it's like, that is like the one thing that really annoys me. Because so many of these times, right, like I will see AI, like things like, maybe like an artist using AI in their art, but the main art piece is done by themselves. And I'm like, it's such a shame. You had such a good idea, but then you added an uncanny element to it, meaning it will never reach its full potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
which is so sad.
It's almost like studio interference, but you don't even have a studio.
You don't have the Amazon executive staring at you.
Yeah.
You know what my completely original piece of artwork needs? Studio interference.
On a similar topic, so the Astartes Anonymous YouTube Shorts, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Astartes Anonymous
doesn't?
YouTube Shorts, for someone who doesn't know, is essentially revised storytelling, where we'll take a story or a chunk of a story or a great moment, we'll rewrite little bits to make it fit into short format, and then we'll source where we've brought it from so that you can see that for yourself, right? And then we'll reenact it in our own little fashion, right? That's how we do things. The vast majority of what we do, and I've never made a secret of this. In fact, I've spoken about it on a bunch of other podcasts. But we do a lot of little tweaking. We do edits here and there because it needs to fit into the format, right?
Yeah.
It'll always remain at source what it is. It'll, if you watch one of our shorts and then read the accompanying narrative that's been referenced, you'll see that it's pretty close to the mark. But you'll see where things have been changed to make it fit into that short format.
Yeah.
Anyway, so away from the point. A while back, and I spoke to Moots about this. I spoke to Alex about this, and I actually spoke to Andy about it briefly as well. Andy being the Remembrancer. We found, and once again, sticking with the topic, I'm not going to name any names because I'm not going to shine a spotlight on anyone. I wanted to name names, but Moots actually convinced me not to because he didn't want us to be a part of any drama. But we found someone, or more actually somebody found someone on TikTok who's garnered a fair chunk of success on TikTok. I'm not going to say they're like the next Westhammer because they ain't. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
no,
obviously.
But what they're doing is they're basically running shorts that other YouTubers have made or other creators have made. And I know they've done it to us. They've done it to Alex. They did it to Andy. They've done it to Deadlifts. They've done it to a bunch of other YouTubers, right? I haven't checked their page in like 3 months because there'd probably be more there and it would just be sad, but whatever. And they'll basically take their shorts and run them through AI to pluck the script out. They'll take the script, they'll put it back into an AI generator to move a few words around, and then they will just regurgitate somebody else's short with an AI voiceover. And that's it. And this person has found a reasonable degree of success on TikTok doing this. And
That's depressing.
That stuff's all monetized, I'm pretty sure. It's over the time mark to get monetized, right? It's crazy.
Disgusting.
It's really quite heinous. But I spoke to Moots about it, and I'm like, Moots, I want to go full, guns blazing with this. And Moots was like, Tom, we don't need that smoke. And I'm like, all right, that's fair. He took him a while to convince me. I spoke to Andy about it, and Andy posed a really interesting point of view when I spoke to him about it. And he basically said, well, technically, Tom, it's transformative. Under the rules of what is transformative, it is transformative. You know, it's just as transformative as what we do to 40k novels. It's, you know, it's totally legal. Everything about it is above board. It stinks real bad, but technically there's nothing wrong with it. And it took me a real long time to accept that and come around to that way of thinking. So this sort of comes back to the bigger issue with AI, in a sense that as much as it's an issue, it's all gray area. There's so much fucking gray area that it's really hard to point a finger and say directly and certainly that's bad. You know,
the only like thing that I know of that falls under a quote unquote ruling is the fact that you cannot really like copyright it, but that's not an issue for YouTube. Our content isn't particularly copyrighted unless you're like an animator.
That's at GW's behest if we're talking about 40k YouTubers.
No, not necessarily 40k YouTubers. I mean YouTubers in general.
Oh, like, I see what you mean, yeah.
For YouTubers like in general, you can't copyright content made by AI, but you don't need to copyright it for YouTube.
Oh, I see what you mean. Sorry, I thought, yeah.
No, I mean like in general. There's also, again, not naming names, there are like, I think, 2 or 3 people who just make 40k shorts, and they go whole hog with the AI, where like the voice is AI, the script is clearly AI generated, and then it's like the editing is AI, and the images are AI generated. Like it's all just AI. And there's some people who do that for history too. Like I saw one about like the fate of Emperor Valerian, who if you guys don't know, Emperor Valerian was the first Roman emperor to be captured on the field of battle, not killed but captured, and he was taken to Sassanid Persia, where he, according to legend, he was forced to drink hot gold, like boiling gold, which would actually make him the second Roman man of note that happened to, the first one being Crassus. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Like, and the whole thing, the script was AI, the images were AI generated, and the funny thing, how you force someone to drink hot gold is you strap them down and fixate their mouth open and then pour it in, because obviously you can't, no one's going to willingly drink it. But the AI image was someone just holding a gold cup, just like pouring it back.
Yeah.
Just slamming it.
Didn't even try to like regenerate the image to get a slightly more appropriate one. Just put, like, man drinking gold, left it at that.
Roman
and
Emperor
took the first
drinking
fucking
gold,
image, bro.
Done. Like, no effort. No effort. That's sad.
Oh, bro.
For those who don't know, this is going to be the first time I ever say it in a public space that isn't just my friends. I'm going to make another channel that is dedicated to historical content, meaning to be both for entertainment but also solid educational purposes. First video will be on the Roman Empire's first defeat, the Battle of Alia, and more specifically the consequences of it and what led up to the battle. So that I'm really excited for. I'll be announcing it on my, when I finally get the channel up and running, I'll be announcing it on my main, saying, hey guys, check it out, give me some support if you want, that sort of thing.
Do you know when that might be? Because we're recording this right now. We're recording this on the 14th of July, but this video isn't going to be going live for another couple of weeks, so it might be a case that the Chrono 2.0 history channel is already out by the time this video airs. This podcast airs.
I genuinely have no idea. I have no timeline because I haven't figured out, again, I don't have a solid idea of what I'll do for visuals, and also I'm not that easy on time right now because I'm doing a full-time internship. Like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, I'm working for the newspaper.
Shocked. Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, obviously, we don't know a lot about history. Actually, Red is pretty good on his World War II.
Nice.
I'm pretty good on my First World War stuff. Moots is actually got a surprisingly good knowledge base for Northern European history. Aaron knows what he did yesterday. So between the four of us, we can date back a couple hundred years, maybe.
We're four halves of a whole idiot.
I have some knowledge of some history, but as a Dutch man, I don't think I should talk about that.
Oh, God.
No, you probably
to
shouldn't.
add to Tom's comments, I would say Red's knowledge of history is very biased towards the States.
He's a true American.
And Moots would have no personality if he didn't have an encyclopedic knowledge of Scandinavia, right? So it sort of matches his height.
No, I'm sorry. Moots would have no personality if he didn't hate the Danish. Like two-thirds of his identity as a Swedish person is just taking every opportunity to dog on the Danes.
Most Europeans do that.
I
I'm not
believe
gonna
it's
lie.
similar with Norwegians. Is they also go right for the Danish throat.
Yeah.
The second they get the tits. Danes
So
are sort of the punching bag.
Scandinavians and Danes have a joint hatred of Norwegians because
Really?
One of our friends in another Discord, we were talking to me and Moots and him, and I called the Danish one Norwegian as a joke because they have that little circle of that little triangle of hate going on.
Yeah.
And he just went, "You have no right to call me that, man." And even Moots was like, "That's fucking low, man. Shit."
You think that's bad? I once referred to an Albanian guy as a Serb as a joke. Oh my god. I got in trouble.
Oh no. Did he make you regret saying it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
The thing is, with me, I do have a minor in history. I went for not a major in journalism, but a specialist program, which is 12 credits instead of 8. And I also happen to have a minor in public law and a minor in history. I took a really interesting course on the Crusades. That's one I thought was really fun, and that was like a 4th level course.
But no, as I've learned, don't stick your nose in other countries' disputes. It seems.
No, you should. This is
you
the thing,
can,
though, right?
just not around someone from that country, because then they're going to rake you over the coals. And not for being wrong, they'll rake you over the coals for not regurgitating propaganda.
I think people should be allowed to make mistakes when it comes to this sort of thing, because this is kind of how it is. Like, when we're brought up in a way and in a world where you're fed information non-consensually all the fucking time. That is part of the experience of being alive.
Oh yeah,
and certain bits of information are going to stick that shouldn't, and certain bits of information should stick that don't.
Yeah.
And so you've got this whole sort of kerfuffle of experiences that are half ones you wanted and half ones you didn't want, and you can only really go off that. So when I say to Moots, something funny about him being Swedish, and he says something funny to me about being British, and we laugh and we go ha 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 because we have that relationship. Sometimes the best thing to remember is it's okay if you have that relationship. As a rule of thumb, it's okay if you have that relationship. And if you don't have that relationship, tread carefully.
Yeah.
And this thing, you can still fuck up. You can still fuck up and say the wrong thing to the wrong person. I don't think the world we live in is so brutal. Watch me, a famous last words. I don't think the world we live in is so brutal that you can't fuck up and apologize. Because if you say to someone something that's touchy and it's offbeat and like you don't quite have that relationship, it's okay as long as you still like are prepared to follow up with a "Hey man, I'm sorry, wasn't meant to say that, I've learned a lesson," or something that means that. You still put yourself out there, because if you don't fuck up, you're never going to learn.
That absolutely
True.
I
didn't
actually
mean it like that, boss.
I have a bit of a story about that. Just give me 1 second.
He says 1 second. It's going to be gone for another hour and a half.
Should we get out, what's it called, Crunker Strike again? Just for the audience, the last time we recorded Chrono, we had to like break for like an hour between, so we all pulled out Discord games and played them for like an hour when we come back.
Sorry, I'm back.
It's under 20 seconds. That's a 2,000% increase from last time. Very good.
I had to just check the door. It's what happened was, I had a friend, and this person was one of those people, like, you could joke about anything with her, like, very loose, gung-ho sense of humor, everything's on the table. Oftentimes, because I'm colored and she was colored too, and so when people are colored together, we sort of joke about each other's ethnicity, and it can get pretty harsh, but that's just all well and good if you know who you're talking to, as you said. But there was one thing she was really touchy about, and that was financial stuff, because unbeknownst to me, she had actually been homeless at one point in her life. And even though my family situation is not great, and I'm looking to actually leave home without my parents knowing at some point, which is why my channel isn't monetized, because I don't want them finding it. My family does have a fair bit of money, and I would joke about that. Like I said, she could sleep on the floor of my mom's Porsche if she wanted, and she actually took it really personally, but didn't make that clear to me until I was told after the fact.
Yeah.
I would try to apologize eventually when she said it hurt her, but she really never accepted that apology and held it against me. And this was 2 years ago. And then 2 years later, I said something on Twitter that she didn't like, because I was saying, like, I was bemoaning the state of the 40k fandom a couple months ago when everyone was fighting. And she got so offended by what I said that she started talking all kinds of crap about me, and then someone said, wow, I heard he has like financial trouble and like he wants to leave home. And she just busted out, even though she knows this isn't true, she busted out saying, no, he comes from a rich Toronto family and he's actually lying about things being bad at home because he doesn't want his family to find out he's been telling lies. Like, that was wild. Like, you know how bad my situation is, but
yeah, no, I mean, you and I have in private. You, me, and Alex have spoken about your situation half a dozen times, so we're not going to there's no point getting into the details of why it's bad. We know it's bad, but to be so, I mean, this is the thing, though, right? If we try to be generous to this individual for a sec, because it is worth. I believe it's worth giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. That's always. my default state, right?
Yeah.
We could say that what you said was something that she couldn't forgive, because there's a few things in the back of my head that if someone knew me well enough, they could say to me, and no amount of apologies would
ever be
okay. Make me, you know, there's a few. I think we've all got a few things like that, haven't we? We all have a few things that are really
soft spots. Yeah.
And let's say you
I'm
accidentally
fortunate enough to know which notes of yours those are.
Well, exactly. I mean, let's say that you stumbled across one of those with your little joke. You know, you didn't mean to. You apologize. You made it clear that you don't know. But in her own mind, it's like, well, now when I think about him, I think about that. And it's like, well, that's a pretty... it's still harsh, but it's still an okay reason for not getting over it, right? It makes sense. No. Even if it's not relatable, it still makes sense. But that doesn't excuse sitting on it for over 700 days to pull it out the back pocket and twist it into something. Because, like, if somebody tried to tell me, if somebody, like, knew you in real life... and that person found me and they tried to say, oh yeah, did you know Chrono's home life is great? Like, I'd think back to the conversations we'd had in private about the stress you have of monetizing and how... Because when you monetize, you get letters coming through, you got all sorts of other crap, you get emails, you get all sorts, you have the opportunity for phone calls and texts. If I couldn't imagine trying to hide that from my family. It would be impossible for me in my situation. And I didn't even live with my parents, right? I can't even imagine how difficult that would be for you. So knowing what I know, to hear about someone being so dismissive and manipulative with the facts against you is something that I find really fucking distasteful. I'm glad that this individual found no speed, found no real force when they sort of tried to start that drama, because that was shit that needed to die as soon as it started, you know?
She actually deleted it the next day.
Good. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's dumb. It's dumb. But, we've all been in situations where, we've messed up, right? We've all been in situations where we've said something that we shouldn't have said, and we've all wished we could have a little take-backsies. But the best thing you can ever do when you do that is to learn from it, right? Face the music and learn from it. And some people... I think one of the things that you found with this little saga, and I think other people have found it. A lot of us find this at school as well when we're kids. We find this on a small scale when we're children, right?
Yeah.
Is that some people, you'll meet people in your life, you'll meet bitter people who aren't satisfied when you've learnt your lesson. You'll meet people who aren't satisfied, and this goes out to anyone listening. You will meet people who aren't satisfied when you've had recompense, when you have done your best.
Yeah.
And people like that you're going to feel a lot of hatred towards people like that, but truly, there's only two things you can really do with people like that. The first is, as best you can, separate from them, and the second is pity them. And when I say pity them, I mean don't feel your emotions and pity them. I mean just pity them, because people like that have a really... I mean this really, like, because again, we've all been there. We all know someone who's like that. We've all known at least one person who's like that.
Yeah.
The reason you pity them is because people like that are going to go through their entire lives not getting over things, not forgiving those around them, not willing to acknowledge their own mistakes. And this goes hand in hand with things like narcissism and what's it called? Schadenfreude? Is that the word?
Schadenfreude.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, it all goes hand in hand with stuff like that. And some people are just, but people change. You may find... I found when I was... how old was I? Gosh, I must have been like maybe 10 or 11. And I had a friend it would have been younger than that. It would have been 7 or 8 in primary school. And he was a bastard. Obviously, as a child, I didn't know what bastard meant, but he was a bastard.
Yeah.
Come around to secondary school. He went to a different secondary school. Come around to college... We're going to the same college now. lo and behold, he becomes a really, really good friend overnight because he's gone through experiences and he's changed. And that can happen to adults too. You know, people can hit like 35, 40, 45, have experiences, and they're not the same person that they were before. People change all the time, and, you know, that's part of the human experience. And you'll change too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'll change, you'll change. You know, one day, Aaron might remember how to spell his own name. One day, Alex might remember he's from South Africa. You know, these things...
You bastard!
people change, you know?
Every podcast!
You broke his vow of silence, man. Look what you've done. He was silent for 30 minutes, and you've just ruined his whole
I was
greater purpose.
gladly enjoying the life lessons I am learning here today.
And there it goes.
I get hit with the South African. Okay.
He's like a Shaolin monk. He's been crippled for life now.
Where did that come from? Where did the South Africa joke come from?
Well, because
South
I am
Africa.
like half...
What do you think?
No.
Yeah, no, so it originated with me just because, like, being Dutch.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of Dutch people that still live in South Africa, and it's still the second language spoken there.
Yeah, the Boers.
So we were, like, talking about, like we were having, like, a conversation about, like, the language, like, Afrikaans, right, which is just Dutch. And I have a couple friends that I speak that with. Then you just hit me with, so maybe you're South African. And then the thing is, I can't deny it because I do speak their language, I do know their culture, and I have been there multiple times.
I guess the South African 40k guy just doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah, Dutch 40k guy just sounds better, you know? It
That
sells
should be
better.
a second channel name.
It's got too many syllables. It just
That is
doesn't
half
flow
the
as
year
well.
when I'm just having... Then I finally will have good weather. Then I can actually enjoy the sun. That's the
first time.
The South Africa Sigma guy. Or,
The South Africa Sigma guy.
South Africa Sigma.
that Dutch 40k guy, that Dutch
enjoy-
Sigma guy.
You'll need to enjoy the nice. You can enjoy the nice weather in between the rolling blackouts.
Oh god, yeah, that is actually a massive issue there.
It
It's
is.
just because well, actually, fun fact: in the Netherlands, we're going towards the same thing because our electricity net is so overcharged at the moment
Really?
that they are starting to consider like doing like regular blackouts so they can start expanding our electricity network. So we might actually get the exact same thing. So maybe I was South African all along.
Oh gosh.
I just didn't know it yet.
It was all about the South African friends we made along the way.
You should get a 21andMe test, what the fuck they're called. And
23andMe.
23andMe, that's the
Yeah,
one.
that's the one.
22 and you, 23andMe, yeah. I
see-
do a video reaction to it.
Oh, God. I see History Channel sometimes get sponsored by like Ancestry.com.
God, I don't want to know. I'm half Serbian, half Dutch. It's just one side is war crimes and the other side is whatever the Dutch did back then.
War crimes against
I don't want
humanity.
to know.
I'm 50% war crimes and 50% breaches of human rights.
God.
With very little in between.
One thing that's actually really funny about me,
Whatever!
one thing that's actually really funny about me is because both my parents are from North India, specifically
Yeah.
Punjab. So you would think, oh, it would be pretty straightforward. Like I have full Punjabi ancestry going back hundreds of years. But if you really want to get into my genetic makeup, then things get weird because there are the Dravidians from India proper. Then there are the Indo-Aryans from northern India. That's what most Punjabis are. But then there's also a lot of Persians who are in the region, Pashtuns who are in the region, Turco-Mongolic people who are in the region, like the Hephalites and the Huns, and even Hellenic peoples who had control of that region for a little while. Like one of Alexander's breakaway states was in control of the Punjab region. So hey, for all we know, I could be descended from both Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan. So I'm just saying.
It's quite funny because
Be a strong warrior.
it's interesting because my father, a few years ago, about a decade ago actually, went on a bit of a craze of family tree stuff. And he managed to trace his own, which is obviously subsequently mine, our ancestry back about 800 years.
Wow.
Which is mental.
Yeah, that's quite nuts.
And the reason it was possible was because on his side, an absolutely colossal portion of my relatives dating back for all those years stayed within the same county. Not the same country, the same county.
Jesus.
Which is which is basically a British equivalent of saying anywhere from 15 to 30 square miles. Which guaranteed a few things. The first, it guaranteed that sorting out the family tree was going to be fairly easy. The other thing it guaranteed is there is almost certainly some incest at some point, way dating back.
Same, absolutely.
But that's how. Well, if you go far enough back with any family tree, you will find some, especially if you're royalty.
Oh yeah.
So fucking. On that note, me, my sister, and our mum's little group chat on Instagram is called Inbred's Double Double. What? And this is because.
That is crazy.
No, so let me tell you why, and it all makes sense.
I'm finding out all these beautiful new things about you. This is great.
So my parents, mum, dad, were both surnamed Smith.
Yeah.
My mum's grandparents, so my mum's parents, my grandparents, were Smith together.
Yep.
And then I think my dad's as well were Smith. So it's three layers.
Everything's coming together. You're very lucky that the word Smith is one of the most common Caucasian surnames on the planet.
Oh yeah.
I was going to make a joke that would have gotten me cancelled into the sun.
Say it. We'll cut it out.
Say it so it can be cut out. I was gonna say, what do you Smiths even? That's YouTube might not like that one.
Banger joke. That is a banger joke.
That's pretty good.
Do cut that. That is a banger joke.
I've got a little bit of fucking like autism strength, granted, but I am in peak physical condition. All right.
It's really funny because Moots and I were having a private discussion the other day about because Moots made a Magic the Gathering deck, and it was worth like €23. For Commander.
Yes,
and anyone who plays Magic knows that making a whole Commander deck for like 20 to 30 euros is insane because that's just a Commander deck should not be that cheap. And he said how when he told you that he'd made a deck that was that cheap, apparently you had guessed the Commander for that deck first try, and so we got in this really funny back and forth about how because it happens in the guess. Who's that model episodes that we do about how you've managed to like you are. I say this with all the love in the world. I say this honestly. I genuinely say this with all the love in the world. But you can be quite slow sometimes. But then there's these moments where you just weaponize your because Aaron actually does have autism, and he just weaponizes his autism to just pull out the most esoteric crap out of fucking nowhere, and suddenly seem like he's got a 230 point fucking IQ, and then just goes back to being a bloody sea slug like immediately afterwards.
Literally.
I'm like that. Like that one weird boy, from what's the mech one where it's like, oh, to do a fingerbob engine, you need to do Ichibu, and he calls upon the Quark knowledge for like
mad
seconds
boy.
at a time.
The one orc mad boy. Yeah,
it's me.
It's actually really funny that you start talking about autism of all things because that is literally the video I just finished recording the audio for right before coming into this. Do Space Marines have autism?
Aaron is my favorite Space Marine.
Is that the title of the video?
Yes, that's what the entire title and topic of the video
Jesus
is. Do
Christ.
Space Marines have autism?
Aaron, you might be a Space Marine, bro.
Holy shit. What is that fucking bit from? There he is, one of God's own prototypes. Not fit for mass production.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by by Hunter S. Thompson. Well, Hunter S. Thompson, and then made famous by the movie starring Johnny Depp. It's from there. Yeah. There he goes, one of God's own prototypes. A high-powered mutant never even considered for mass production. Too weird to live, too rare to die.
Amazing. Sums me up perfectly.
Right. Chrono, how much longer do you think we have you for? Do you think you'll have time for some Patreon questions?
I think I do have some time for a couple Patreon questions, but I do have to go very soon.
All right, let's jump onto some Patreon questions then.
Hell yeah.
Well done making it to the end of that rather unhinged and unplanned episode with Chrono the Harlequin. If you're enjoying our content and want to help out, or you like the idea of getting your head on the wall behind me, please consider taking a quick look at our Patreon. And if you want the opportunity to interact with myself or any of the other members of the team, please consider joining our Discord, link down below. And finally, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time. So, patron questions. Oh, I'll save that one for when Red's here.
That's how you know it's a good one.
It's a homebrew-centric one.
Ah.
He'll have fun with it. Let's see. I'm losing track of which of these I have and haven't asked already, so I'm trying not to ask them
You kept
twice.
saying you were going to make a list of where to go.
Yeah,
where to
and then I
stop,
proceeded to not.
Yeah.
Let's try and get through these quickly, because Chrono's not got a huge amount of time. Tell you what, Aaron, for the first patron question, it's just for you.
Oh, yeah.
Linky would like to know, it's for Red as well, apparently, but I'll ask Red separately. How does it feel being the only member of Astartes Anonymous with hair?
Oh, mate, it's fucking great. Obviously, as much as the Boldies, not naming names, will say you'll lose it one day, it's fucking going. I have it now, which is something they don't. So quite frankly, it's empowering. It's like...
It's empowering, is it really?
Oh, yeah, because I look at you and I look at me, and I realize, the difference between us. It's a privilege in this team.
There is a few differences between
You're not
us.
lesser, you're just different, and
Just
I look down
special.
upon you.
No. Tom is lesser in the hair department. That's the whole bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't retort, because I don't want to roast you whilst we're recording. Alright, next up, we have...
I just want to point out, I am astounded by how many times during this episode the phrase "not naming names" has come up. Because Aaron just
Sometimes
said that.
you just...
It's no one is named in this episode.
Sometimes you just have to have an episode like that where you've just got to talk bare shit and then be like, don't quote me on this.
Okay, don't quote me on this.
It was
plot.
all a bit, I promise.
Because
It's
all that anyone
in the
who's...
implication. That's what it is.
Anyone we've talked about, all that anyone can do that we've talked about in this episode is self-report. No one's going to want to do that, so it's all good. It's all good.
Hell
Right.
yeah.
But
Next
my hair
patron
also
question.
gives me extra height on moops, which is very funny.
That's not hard. That's not hard.
Yeah.
Right, next patron question. Ooh, if you had to... Oh, here's a fun one. Oh, this would be a good one. So this is from Lufurius, aka Archmagos Dominus Punk. I'd like you to answer first, Chrono.
By all means.
If you had to pick 4 Primarchs to run a fantasy tabletop RPG with, RPG game 4, presumably with you as the GM or DM, D&D, Pathfinder, etc., who would probably be the best for you to have at the table?
For me, Rabute Gilliman would have to be the first because he is very well ordered. He will keep people in line, and if anyone knows the rules, it would be him. Let's assume that I'm the one who's DMing, so if I screw up as a DM...
I think you are DMing in this situation, yeah.
In this scenario, I've only ever DM'd once before, but I did enjoy it, so I would probably need help from one of my players who probably is more familiar, and Gilliman would be that guy. Lehman Russ, I think, would be able to just have a lot of fun with it. I think probably Vulcan would be able to smooth over people's personalities well enough, and Alfarius for the sake of keeping things interesting. Because
Those are
otherwise
good
everyone's
answers.
too perfect and gets along too well, so we need Alfarius to throw a little zest in there. He's gonna have something in the quirks.
I get it. I wouldn't pick any of those 4. I think for me, personally, I think all 4 of those are terrible picks.
Oh, please, let's hear it.
Actually, sorry, except for one. I think Vulcan is an amazing pick. I think Vulcan's actually an auto pick for every
Vulcan's
team.
a good fella.
Vulcan's
Oh, yeah.
a great pick.
Yeah.
I think Gilliman would be too anal about the rules. I think having Gilliman and Lehman at the same table is a terrible idea because Lehman's going to want to go too far with his roleplay, and Gilliman's going to want to rein him in and be unable to. And so you're just going to need this. You got 2 guys at the table who cannot be sat next to each other.
Oh yeah.
They have to be
Okay.
sat like across from each other. That's those 2. They cannot be sat next to each other for this campaign, or hands will be thrown.
I yield. You're right. You're right.
I think Alfarius is an okay pick because, I could see him getting invested into the RP and not being too disruptive. But I also feel like maybe he could be a little bit of a boring pick, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I'm biased towards my own pick. I'll get my own picks out of the way now since I'm talking too much. I would have, first off, and this would be like pre-heresy, no post-heresy crap. I'd have Fulgrim. Fulgrim pre-heresy, Great Crusade era Fulgrim is actually just so capable of just having fun and not being a dick about it.
That's
genuinely.
True.
I mean, there's a few things he's a dick about, but he is so happy to roll with the punches. So definitely it would have Fulgrim. I would definitely have Vulcan, because Vulcan's so ready to have everyone be happy and do whatever it takes for everyone to have a good time. So Vulcan, I think, is another auto pick. The other two is where I'd struggle with, though. I feel like those two for me are like the absolutes. I want to say Jagatai, but I always say Jagatai to things like this, and I know Jagatai and Fulgrim, I don't think those two would gel well, so I think with that in mind, I pick Ferris. Now, Ferris on his own isn't a great pick, but Ferris actually has tons of respect for both Fulgrim and Vulcan, so I think because those two are at the table, Ferris would suit the table quite well. And for my final pick, ooh, that's a hard one. I think I'd have to go with Sanguinius.
Okay, yeah.
I think I'd have to go with Sanguinius just for the same reason that when Sanguinius is around, everyone kind of just wants to have a good time. I feel like this grouping of Primarchs would be primed to just enjoy themselves, and enjoy the roleplay.
I think you're absolutely right. I think your picks are better than mine in that regard. And the one with, because I think Ferris can seem like a giant jerk. He can seem like a huge dick at times, like, oftentimes in the lore, when you're reading about moments with him, when he interacts with Guilliman, or when he talks about Guilliman, and when he interacts with Lorgar, you're thinking like, what is this guy's problem?
But when he interacted with that one Ultramarine chapter master, Ferris was a complete arsewipe for no reason at all. He got the guy killed for like no fucking reason at all.
Yeah. Oh damn.
I think he was trying to teach his own chapter a lesson or something.
Yeah, how to be dickheads.
Yeah, it's like a lesson in iron. I think that's the story. I say you're right. Vulcan, I think especially Fulgrim and Vulcan bring out sort of the best in Ferris Manus. Absolutely, like that's a good choice.
Come on then, Alex. What are your 4 picks?
So I'm starting out with Fulgrim because I need a funny bard, and I think Fulgrim would play an amazing bard.
Yeah,
absolutely rizzing up every single person in my campaign, and I'm so excited for it. Then I would probably throw in a Lorgar because I don't think anyone is really going to give him a chance, and I think he'd actually have a really fun play as like the religious type. Within that, I think he'd actually have a great time with that.
Yep. The cleric. Yep.
Let me just think. I want to say Perturabo, and I think that will be fun with Fulgrim because Perturabo is just going to kind of get mad, do some aggressive stuff, and then Fulgrim is going to make something fun about it, and Perturabo will still smile, so it will be a good time.
You could almost see Perturabo having it. Perturabo would love D&D because he gets to be 100%. He gets to be someone other than himself.
Oh
and
yeah.
He gets to bring, and I could ask him to bring his own miniatures, which is even better. He would have the miniatures at all, which is awesome.
Right, you got one more.
Probably Sanguinius because that's just a good time overall.
It's a safe pick.
I think Sanguinius is just a fun person to be around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sanguinius is a very safe pick.
Unless they roll like 5 ones in a row, then you might have to put them in another room for a bit. But
I think that'd be the same with all the Primarchs. Could you imagine Lehman Russ or the Lion rolling like 6 ones like back to back?
Oh, that table is going in half.
Yeah, the table's gone.
Oh god.
Go then, Aaron. What are your 4 picks?
So, I like a little bit of spice. If I'm running like 4-man pod, we're talking for the first time in Astartes Anonymous history. I want Lehman Russ somewhere.
Hey,
you want the spice. Okay, that's the real spice.
Lehman Russ, Angron.
Angron.
He's just gonna eat the models.
Conrad Kurz and Magnus.
God bless you, man.
It'll definitely be the shortest game of D&D.
That's a one shot. That is a one shot for sure.
That is a one shot and you won't make it.
1 second. No, because if you think about it, you've got 2 barbarians that are going to be violent. So you've got 1 rogue that's going to be all about violence. You've got 1 wizard in the background who's either going to do everything or cry in the corner and try and stop everyone else. And that's going to be a funny fucking time, grudges aside. But...
God.
I can't wait for you to try and like get them to roll something, and it's just Angrel and Lehman Russ in a corner, rolling on the ground, throwing punches at each other. While Combat Curse is eating or like skinning some
Honestly,
of the miniatures, like wiping the paint off, and Magnus is just sitting there like, what is going on?
So wait, you said Magnus Mortarion, not Mortarion, sorry.
Correct, Curse.
Curse.
Magnus
This list. I'm sorry, this list would actually, the only way this list could be worse. I mean, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Kurz is somehow, like, based on the whole group, Kurz is somehow the safest of the four.
Yeah, that's like
this.
Probably.
If you change Kurz for the lion, you would have the worst list
possible
anyone could
table.
come up with.
No, but
Yeah, no one would be
look,
playing. They'd just be
fucking-
killing each other, bro.
I can't have the lion. He has more autism than me, and that's not something I can accept at my D&D table. Man, right?
A challenger.
The DM is always going to be the higher up on the spectrum. That's just how it goes.
Oh, God, the amount of PKing that would be happening at this table.
I
Get
would
to
just
get to
throw
the
them
third
in.
session and everyone's on their third fucking character.
I would just throw them into like what's that one super labyrinth? The one that like barely anyone ever completes. The preset.
yeah,
You know the one, the labyrinth of doom and
Yeah,
whatever
the
fuck
whole
it
like
is.
labyrinth realm you go through. Yeah.
I'll just throw them in there and see what fucking happens.
Jesus.
See how it goes.
I feel like it would be hell on earth, but they would eventually find a way out.
They just have gone through 25 characters to get there.
If you put Aaron, who is obviously the GM, in an indestructible dome, they will eventually get there. Yeah. I just see Magnus will start crying at some point in this campaign. I'm just calling
Yeah,
it now.
It's
yeah.
like
That's
that
what I was
thing.
saying. He's either going to do everything and be this fucking wizard badass, or he's just going to be crying on the corner trying to stop everyone else.
No,
It
both
reminds
of
me
those
of that
things.
theory.
He would be both of
Reminds
those
me of the
things.
Reminds me of the theory of like if you just give a monkey enough time, over time he will like type out the entire Horus Heresy perfectly. This is the
monkey
same thing.
theorem, yeah,
if you give the
you-
Primarchs enough time, they'll get there.
Oh yeah.
You have Monkey a typewriter and infinite time, and he'll write out an exact Shakespeare script verbatim by pure
Yeah.
accident. That's what it is, yeah.
Right, gentlemen, we are at a close. So, quickly, thank you everyone for tuning into this surprisingly short episode of the Astartes Anonymous podcast. We will endeavour to actually plan our schedules, and if anyone's made it to the end here and you're listening and you want a little bit more clarification, I'm moving house this week, so it's been a huge rush. Moots is on holiday, Red's working his ass off, Aaron's just dog shit at planning, so
I'm
it's all kind of
you move, you fuck.
it's all kind of crumpled together into being a real like half-baked episode. But thank you so much, Chrono, for coming along and doing this with us.
Always my pleasure. Absolutely.
And once again, thank you to Alex, who I will definitely remember to credit in the description for this wonderful little episode.
I'm gonna eat
Or
your
even
setup.
tag me in the server.
No,
you know?
I'm sorry.
But Mooch there. That was great. It was funny as shit.
We sort of forget about you, man. You're like a manlet like Moot, so we just look over you. It's we apologize.
What?
That's on us.
Oh.
That's just the way it is.
What
But
are
no,
you, like,
thank
5'6"?
you very much, everyone, for watching, and we will see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye bye.